open session to order at 6:17 p.m. And we will start with the flag salute. In recognition of free speech and the following board agenda item, we welcome all and would like to note that saying the Pledge of Allegiance is not a requirement to participate in the business of this public board. If you do not say the pledge for religious, political, social, or personal reasons, you are most welcome here as an equal participant in the business of this board. For those who would like to participate, please stand. Salute. Pledge.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Now, before we can...
Is there any conversation happening? Because I cannot hear anything. There's no sound.
We were doing the flag salute. Can you hear us now? She cannot hear us. Okay. One moment, everyone. Technical difficulties.
Did you see it?
I don't think so because see, it's still showing the message on the screen. It does not show the word. You want me to get on and do something? Is it right?
Oh.
Okay, Kelly, you got us now?
Can you hear me now? Okay. Kelly, can you hear us?
If she can call in on a phone or something.
I think she is.
Can the public see and hear us?
Yes.
Are you guys muted?
Not on our end.
I can't hear the meeting either, or our seating thing either.
Oh.
What's it?
This is Maisha.
Hi, Naisha.
Hello, I know you.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if they can hear us, but
No video on the
They
live
must be
stream.
muted. Because I heard sound for a moment and then it disappeared.
Okay.
So I don't know what's going on.
Yes, I can't
It
see
doesn't-
anything.
Are
It
you hearing
doesn't
anything
show
now?
them as muted, but clearly we can't hear any of the sound.
Yeah, I think there's some technical difficulties going on, something.
All right, I'm going to text Scott.
Okay.
Live stream is open. Okay.
So, Carol, is our sound coming through?
Okay.
On the live stream?
I'm going to leave this as Zoom session. I got another one on there that'll hold it, and we will see if this will help.
Yes, so the conversation that's happening in the room is what?
I'm going to leave this as Zoom session. I got another one on there that'll hold it.
Yes.
The live stream does have
So live stream,
Okay.
they're
Yeah,
hearing
and
everything that's
video.
happening right now in the room.
But the
There's a problem
Zoom...
between the Zoom and the live stream.
Okay.
So everybody that's attendee or participant, I mean a panelist or attendee on Zoom, they're not seeing this or hearing this.
We should have Kelly go to the center.
Do what?
Have Kelly go to the center.
No.
Yeah, the problem is live stream has a slight delay, so that would make
Make
the
it really hard.
conversations challenging.
I'm going to reboot one of the laptops. Sorry, everybody, this is happening.
You know, I work with computers so much, I'm just sitting there going, yeah, of course this is going to happen.
Feels good not to be on the hot seat.
One of my classes just happens, sometimes you have to go all the way out and come back in,
Yeah.
and it's fine.
Well,
I
he's-
see nothing.
He's be polite, don't point out that we didn't have this problem last time.
Don't worry, it's gonna be someone else in the seat next for June, both times June.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
I heard that what the preference was last month already. And I'm very happy for that too. I've got great staff.
You do? She did a nice job, though.
But in all honesty, so do you.
Yes, absolutely.
Of course, Zoom's installing updates.
If Windows does it, don't do it. I'll tell you that. I'll take it for
Had no choice.
maybe a year.
Because what?
Here, you hearing us yet now?
Can you hear us, Kelly?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can hear us, can we
And
hear
I just needed to unmute.
you? Okay, wonderful. Okay, we just did the flag salute. So we are moving on to item 7, announcement of action taken in closed agenda. So for closed session, item number 1, is there a motion to approve staff recommendation for student expulsion number 2122-04?
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion, do I have a second? And we have a second. Okay, we will do a roll call vote. Trustee Kelly?
Aye.
Trustee Lee?
Aye.
Trustee Pope?
Aye.
Trustee Anderson?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. It is unanimously approved. Okay. Adoption of agenda. Do I have a motion regarding that?
Before we adopt agenda, can I have a make a point of order, please?
Sure.
There seems to be some.
I can't hear you, trustee Coke.
Hi, Kelly.
Oh, much.
Hi.
Um,
I'd like to pull item number 20 from the consent agenda.
Okay, one moment. We will get to that. Trustee Pope's making a point of order.
Sorry about that.
That's quite all right. There seems to be some confusion with the board on when and how to abstain from a vote. So for the people that are unaware or unsure of the reason, board policy 9323 states, the board believes that when no conflict of interest requires abstention, its members have a duty to vote on the issues before them. So basically, the only reason why you can abstain is if there's a conflict of interest. Also, stating the reason why you abstain provides our stakeholders and our constituents, the people that elect us, of the reasons for the abstention.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and so Trustee Kelly, you said you would like to pull item 20?
20, yes, item 20. And I tell you what that is, but my other computer just died, so I don't know. I think it's, the excess funds,
It's the fund balance.
cap.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other changes, anything someone would like to make? Okay, do I have a motion then to adopt the agenda with item 20 pulled from consent agenda?
A motion to adopt the agenda as amended.
Okay, thank you. And do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Roll call vote, Trustee Kelly?
Aye.
Trustee Lee?
Aye.
Trustee Pope?
Aye.
Trustee Anderson?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. The agenda has been adopted. Okay. Moving on to organization reports. Vanessa Mason from CUTA.
Point of order, is the live stream up yet? There seems to be some comments that it may not have.
Live stream is up. We have 6 people viewing it.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, good evening. I'm here on Wacky Wednesday Western Day at Dudley. So for my report today, I am looking forward to hearing the teachers and their experiences coming up pretty soon for summer school. We've negotiated the salary 31st, so that's exciting. Teachers are starting to go through their trainings. And the next thing we're negotiating on also on May 31st is salary schedules for our teachers, especially bringing us on par with local districts in our area, but most specifically our special ed teachers, which are paid significantly less than neighboring districts, up to like $30,000 less. So we're hoping that we can come to resolution with the district that brings us on par with neighboring districts so we can attract special ed teachers that are quality for our schools. And that's it.
Thank you very much.
Any questions? Okay.
I'm sorry, the sound is cutting in and out so badly, we can't really hear what she's saying. Maybe someone else on the call could confirm that.
Well, when speaking to the mic, please make sure you're up close to the mic and speaking clearly. That could have a lot to do with it.
Kelly, can you hear me now, or is it cutting out?
I can.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you need me to repeat my report?
No, I heard most of it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Next, for CSEA, we have Naisha Harris.
Good evening.
Good evening.
It is CSEA Classified Employees of the Week, May 16th through the 20th. The E14 team put together some goodie bags for our members at each school site that was delivered this Monday. I wanted to congratulate the Classified Employees of the Year. Gift cards were also delivered to our CSEA members. We have Elizabeth Carrasco at Spinelli, Roxana Crow at North Country, Amina Tongol at Dudley, John Harville at Oak Hill, Tracy Perrott at Wilson C. Rouse, Dyson Smith at Center High, Carrie Woodson at McCullen, and Luis Alvarez at the district office. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to reports and presentations. Diversity in elementary curriculum, English language arts from Mike Jordan.
Mike, I turned off the mic. Yes.
And the boots. All right, good evening. Sorry about the chair. I didn't realize there was a table behind me. It scared me knowing a table. We're here for the second round of the diversity in curriculum, elementary curriculum. And Eugene, if you would please, would you put the PowerPoint, or is that me? Oh, is it up?
It's up.
Oh, I can't.
Oh, you want this one, right?
Can you put it on that one so we can see it?
It's up.
It's on the screen.
You guys can't see it?
Here,
Well,
well,
they have it in their folder.
they have it in paper.
Okay.
Hold on.
Are you guys asking me something, because it's cutting in and out? I'm sorry. Yes, I can see the presentation, if that's what you're asking.
There we go.
We're
Perfect.
working on
Thank you,
getting that
Jade.
up on our end.
Thank you, thank you. So tonight we're going to talk about the ELA, English Language Arts curriculum. And if we could, go to the next slide. Uh-oh. There we go. All right. So this one's going to be a little bit easier to follow. It's one slide with multiple links. And the way this curriculum Wonders of the Elementary lays it out, it's very easy. If you could click on the first one, please. So what Wonders has done is they put for every grade level, K, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you can see each story, and if you look on the far, I guess that'd be your right-hand side, it's going to show you what area in the terms of diversity that is being covered by that story. And I don't know if I can't see that here, but you guys have this in your packet, correct?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. So it's laid out, and the way we work at the elementary levels is they're going story by story by story. They're just going straight through the curriculum. So these will all be covered by the time, if they're with us from kindergarten through 6th grade, they would go through each one of these. And to give you then some examples.
Are you?
Here we go, that's the first one.
Yeah, you can't click that. That's me clicking.
Oh, Jesus. I wonder what's going on. All right, so this is the first story, and this is a Hispanic female student.
who also happens to be deaf. So in this story, they're going to show her doing sign language, teaching the class sign language. So they're covering obviously 2 different categories here. Kids with special needs, as well as a Hispanic young lady. Do I click that or do you have?
I got it.
Thank you. So we're not going to read the story together, I guess we can. Just giving you the general idea here. Then the next story, this is from 2nd grade. This is Brave Bessie. And this talks about the first African-American female pilot. And actually, I read this story a couple days ago. It's pretty good. It's very interesting. And it talks about how she has to go to France, so on and so forth. But it's a very interesting story about a young African-American female and how she grew up to be the first pilot in the United States with a license, pilot's license. If you could go to the next one. And again, this is Yoon and the Jade Bracelet. This is depicting a Korean female and a story from Korea. And so it'll go through again. If you could kind of click through those pages for me, please, Eugene. All right, thank you. And then the final one, not the final one, but the final one for tonight, the Unbreakable Code. And this talks about the Navajo code breakers who were obviously famous in World War II and were able to help win the war. And it goes through their story and how they were recruited and went into the military and what they did in order to help the country win World War II.
Is this the total reading program? Or is there more?
I'm just giving you, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4 examples, but it's almost every story. So that first slide, can we go back to that first slide? It's going to show you through the entire curriculum, K-6.
Right, but what we have in our book is
Just
more
examples.
extensive than that. It's several pages of stories all the way through.
Correct, yeah. So that first slide it gives you an overview of the entire curriculum. And every time that there's a story in regards to diversity, which is what we're talking about tonight, where that is in terms of the curriculum. I'm just giving you some examples, 4 examples.
Right.
So you can see the actual story as the kids see it.
Interesting. Reading through this, you wouldn't think the white boy existed. There's not a single white boy mentioned. And I know that's going to get me in trouble, but I just thought it was interesting.
But this is, we're talking about diversity?
Yeah. Because, I mean, I think we ought to acknowledge them too, but every single one of these is something different.
I'm sure there are stories that do depict that. That was not what I was understanding for the topic this evening. I don't know how to respond to that, to be honest.
So the chart that he's
They're
showing.
listed for all the grade levels.
Yeah, this was meant.
But this chart is only to show representation. This is not every story in the book. This is not
Okay.
every story. This
Correct.
is only, if you look at the very title, it's diverse literature. So to be approved, you have to go through and show diversity within the curriculum. All are represented throughout. These are just examples from our curriculum where it would be found. And it's probably a tool that they use when you identify, when you go to get approved. So Wonders to get approved has to demonstrate some different criteria. So this would be that. So this is just an example of where this is in the curriculum.
That's all I was asking, is if this was everything they read or if there was more to it.
Yeah, there is more to it. These are just the stories that represent diversity.
Okay, thank you.
All right, do we have any questions? All right.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, and then moving on to the next report presentation, we have iReady Spring Scores with Mike Jordan.
All right, if you...
Yeah, I'm
please,
working on it.
I'm sorry. I appreciate what you're doing. All right, so this is our iReady scores for the spring. And what we're going to look at is from our first assessment back in the fall until now and see what the growth was. And keep in mind that this year, our main goal was completion rates. This is our first time through. We recognized very early on we were having some significant Wi-Fi issues. I want to personally thank Eugene and his crew. That we got pretty much all of that rectified and corrected by the end, which is fantastic. Thank you. So looking at testing expectations first, we have all students K-8 taking the test, the iReady Math and the iReady Reading. But when we get to the high school level, there are specific groups that we were looking at because we want to look at for the high school level to use these scores for intervention purposes. Are our interventions working? Which kids need intervention in reading and math? So for example, if you could click on that. Please. Oops. There we go. These are the expected, there we go. Oops. Well, I'll explain. I don't know.
Yeah, it's
Basically, our AP kids, if you're in AP English, we didn't have you take the iReady reading test. If you're in AP Calc, you're not taking the math test. We know you're not going to go into an intervention class. If you're in an honors, you're not taking the test because that's not what the test is for. And we know we're testing our high school kids like crazy. They're testing. So only our kids that are in intervention look like they're going to need intervention. That's what we needed our scores for. So I just want to make it clear when we're looking at these scores at the high school level, it's not your independent study kids, it's not your home and hospital kids, it's not your kids in non-public schools. There's a whole subset that's not involved in this testing. All right, let's move on to completion rates. So you can see, looking through the chart, we're up in the 90s, all the way K-8, which is fantastic. And again, in the 80s, but again, because the high school level, we're not testing every kid. So that's fantastic too. We were in the single digits in the spring at some of the high school level because we just couldn't get Wi-Fi to work. No fault to the high school; they were doing the best they could. We could not get the test to work with the Wi-Fi. Now you can see it's fantastic. Again, thank you, Eugene. So we're going to look at some of the scores. This is for reading. If you could click on the curriculum associates, please. We're going to look at two different reports.
yeah. That's all associated to your Google Drive right now, and
Say again. I'm sorry.
this is associated to your Google Drive, so it's not getting really into that.
It's not going to open.
No.
Okay. Is there any way for us to open?
No.
I will give you the overview. The overview is we have improved in all areas at all grade levels, which is fantastic. So what you would have seen on this chart is that the green lines is what we're looking for. Those are kids that are at or above grade level. They've gone up significantly in all grade levels, which is fantastic. That means we've had tremendous growth since the beginning of the year. That's what we're looking for. And then they're going to break it down into the strands. In all areas, we've seen tremendous growth as well, which is fantastic. And again, that's all students. That's not broken down demographically. That's what we're going to see in the next slide that hopefully will show. If not, I'll explain that one too. But there was tremendous growth. So I give credit to all of our teachers who have been working very, very hard over this school year in what can only be described as an unusual and crazy year. To get that much growth is tremendous. If we could go back up one slide, is that going to let you do the 5 labs report?
It's the same story.
Okay, that's okay. It's not your fault. It is what it is. So the 5 labs report is going to break this down demographically. So one of the things that you can see is socioeconomic status, how those students did from the beginning of the year till now. We're looking at all different racial and ethnic groups. We're looking at students with IEPs, students without IEPs, students who are English language learners, students who are not, students who are foster students, students who are not. So it's broken down all those ways so we can look at what's going on. And that's what our schools are looking at individually, is where do we need to focus our efforts? Where are we doing well? Where do we still need to work? And what we found is we still are experiencing some achievement gaps. We recognize that, and we are working towards closing those gaps. If we could go on to, Matt's not going to open either. Completion rates, again, completion rates went way, way up. That's fantastic. Again, when you look at the high school, especially when you look at seniors, you're going to see only 42% took the test because not all seniors take math. So they didn't need to take that test. Or there's a ton of kids in AP classes at that level. Whether it's AP Stat, AP Calc, they're not going to take that test either. Again, our scores went up. If we were able to open that slide, which I will send you a link to that so you can open it on your own. Oh, you have it in front of you? Oh, good. Okay. Again, we want to go to the green. If yours are in color, we want to see the green. Our greens have extended. That's fantastic. That's what we're looking for. Our strands, again, have expanded. Not as dramatically as in the ELA, but that's also to be expected. Again, hats off to the teachers, working in a very difficult time, very difficult year, and getting positive results. And again, that's what schools are doing now, teachers are doing now. We're going back, we're looking at our results. What can we do to improve our results in the coming years? Now that we've had this implemented for a full year, and we're going to go into year 2, now we can start tracking where can we really focus our efforts now to help all students improve. In the 5 levels report, you see the same thing. If you broke it down by ethnicity, you broke it down by socioeconomic status, foster, non-foster, special ed, IEP, non-IEP, so on and so forth. So we can go, oh, I go one slide. All right, so what are our takeaways? Just general takeaways. One, Wi-Fi issues, that is fantastic. That's largely been fixed. That's going to help us tremendously next year to start with high completion rates so we can have more accurate data. 2, our completion rates improved from fall to spring, and we anticipate now that they're going to continue high as we move forward. And 3, we recognize there are still achievement gaps. There are still, not all students are scoring equally high. We want to come up with strategies, working with Skilly, work with our school sites, so that we can help all students be more successful.
I have a question looking at some of the 5 labs data.
Okay.
Comparing 2021 to 2022. For both ELA and math, it looks like the above grade level or early on grade level actually went down in between 2021 and 2022, whereas 2 grade levels below or 3 grade levels below both increased. I was wondering if there's...
Can I come see it? Can I look at the chart?
Oh, absolutely.
Can I approach it?
I am shocked at this.
So, on both of those, the top brackets decreased while the bottom brackets increased. And that also was the case with the math.
Now keep in mind, when we go start breaking it down here. Oh, sorry. Can I go back?
Oh, absolutely.
One of the things we have to recognize when we're looking at this second report is, remember in the first implementation back in 2021, we had far fewer students.
Okay.
So we really didn't have accurate scores. We hardly had any high school students taking the test, so we couldn't get them on Wi-Fi. We had much bigger issues getting the other kids on throughout.
So this is a more representative number because you have a larger sample size.
I'm looking at the 2022 results because now I know I'm in the 90 percentile in terms of completion rates.
Okay.
And in the high school I'm in the 80, whereas I was in single digits in some of the high school levels. Again, no fault of their own. We just could not get them. We couldn't get them online. It's an online internet-based test.
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing, but can I ask the question real quickly? When looking at this report, I've got it up on my computer, that you've got 2 lines for each grade level. You've got your most recent and your diagnostic one. So should I presume that the diagnostic one is like our baseline? That's what we did last year, and the most recent, so it's showing the progress?
So you're looking,
or am I not reading?
You're looking at the Curriculum Associates report. That's the one with the long lines, correct? So diagnostic one would have been the one we took way back September. And the most recent, we just finished up within, like the last month.
So So
That's-
I'm kind of confused why trustee, Bruno is saying that scores went down, because it appears that all of them have gone up significantly. Am I
So
not reading this right? I don't know.
he's looking at the other report, the 5 Labs report.
Mm-hmm. For math.
Correct. So the 5 Labs report's looking at everybody who took the test, where the other report's just looking at how kids improved. Kids who took the test early and was there improvement.
Okay. Yeah, I think maybe the only one that went down according to this is grade 12. And everything else appears to have gone up significantly, so that's good.
The only reason, sorry, the only reason there's the 2 different reports, I can't pull the demographic data out of the Curriculum Associates report. It just won't let you do it. So we dump that into what's called 5 Labs, and then we're able to pull that demographic data out. It'd be much easier to have one report,
Can I make a
but both
suggestion?
can't do the same thing.
Since we're not able to share the screen with people who are live streaming, maybe it would be best if we table this till our next meeting so that we can share this beautiful data.
I believe the
I mean, I would
graphs,
hate to make you do it again, but at this point, I don't think people are getting the full impact of what you're showing.
Kelly, I believe the graphs are available in the board packet for the meeting, so it is available online.
We're just not able to broadcast it right now through there based on the way, but if anyone gets the sample, we can also come back, if it helps, we can post these on the website underneath, so it's more public for people. We could pull those out to place on there so people know, because this is a big packet this time, but if you're in there and you're following through, you can get to these reports. I think there's some confusion, Ms. Jordan, on the 5 Labs, says 2021 and 2022. Those time periods, that's really showing a difference from what we did at the end of last school year to the first of this 2022 period.
The
right?
2022 that we just took,
Right.
within
So-
the last month, which
so
really is.
As far as gains and stuff, you really want to look at the Curriculum Associates
Right.
ones to see how we've progressed. So that's the hard, it is confusing, so
is.
we can make sure we work to clarify that. We can't, with the 5 Lab, with that first window, it's very hard to pull exactly what we're trying to get at with that. So we're trying to use some information off of the 5 Labs for the disaggregating it, but for the other to see our progress as a whole, it's easier off Curriculum Associates.
Well, that's good to know.
You can't pull the demographic data off the Curriculum Associates.
And I'm curious about that, has it always been that way? I was under the understanding that Curriculum Associates provides this aggregated data, so I'm kind of
They
confused
do,
about
but we
that.
haven't been able to get it in there, and I think that's one of the reasons we went with 5 Labs, to really break it down. So it does a lot of overall, it breaks down further so we can see individual strands for kids, where 5 Labs doesn't do that for us. So it's kind of 2 systems.
And this is correct. If there's a way to do it, we haven't been able to get it to work.
Okay.
That's why we're using the double. And the reason, Trustee Kelly, the reason they're not coming up on the screen, that's no fault to Eugene. That's probably something, I probably didn't click something that allowed him to be able to share.
Well, we'll work on how to do screenshots and that for the future, make it smooth, easier on you.
On this page,
Yes.
the statement underneath the bars on top says, out of
Talk to your
400,
mic, Nancy. Kelly can't hear.
Yeah, just so you guys know, I can't really hear anything anyone is saying. It sounds like you're all underwater, so
Okay.
if I look stupid, that's because I don't understand what's being said. I'm like,
is that your way of telling me I'm all wet? Okay, on this page with the bars across the top, underneath the bars, it says that 486 students were tested.
Is this math or reading?
Pardon?
Math or reading?
It's the first one is in here. Yeah. Okay. 644 students were tested. Out of those, 486 students were 3 or more grade levels below. That's huge. Is that accurate?
Can I don't have that.
Help yourself.
Which are you looking Yeah, so this is actually reading. It just, we're looking at the rating results. So this is what you want to do is look down here. Underneath it's going to tell you, for example, in the first one, there were 240 students. When we took the test originally, beginning of the school year, who were 1 or more grade levels above. And now there's 590 students. And that's why that green bar has gotten bigger. If you'll see what Trustee Anderson was looking at, when we started the year, there were 644 students who were 3 or more levels below. We've decreased that to 486. That's what we want to do when you get to the red. It's opposite. You want to get those numbers lower. That means those kids are progressing and moving out of the lowest category. You want your numbers in green, obviously, to get higher because you want more kids going towards the green and moving up.
So it's opposite.
Does that make sense? It's a little confusing because you have to flip-flop.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Did that make sense?
So although there is improvement, it does still show that there's a significant number of students that are 3 or more grade levels below level.
Correct. That is correct.
Yeah. So if we were to set some goals, would it be good to make, you know, numbers or just say improvement? How specific would you want a goal to be?
How specific? Are you asking the board or myself?
I'm asking the board, the superintendent, or you, sir.
If you're going to put a specific percent, like we want to go up 2% or 3% out of whatever category, I think you have to remember that students are going to change over this year. It's not going to be an apples to oranges.
Right.
For next year when you look at that. Does that make sense? In some ways, you got to look at it. Every year is a new set of data. We can see trends start to develop, but it's not going to be as easy as we're going to get 2% of the kids we had this year increase next year because we may not. It may be a whole different set of kids that we have. We do have a fairly high mobility rate. And kids are coming and going a lot. Right.
The other predictor that we'll see is obviously this is done 3 times a year, and then we're also CAS testing, the statewide testing that's done annually, is happening, just wrapping up now. So that'll be, these should be predictors towards our success in that. And so we use this more as interim, so we're looking at how do we improve to get better to that point, knowing what students know or don't know to progress with instruction. So we're spending a lot of time diving into each of these iReady assessments to identify where. So saying all that, it might be better to look at the totality of the CAST testing and then start setting some goals from that, because this should be a predictor of where we're going. We also, obviously, us and districts across the nation are dealing with the whole learning loss issue. So we're seeing kids come in a lot lower than they had before. And so we're happy with the results, but we're not resting with the results. We're pushing on. We want everyone in the green. That would be my goal.
Absolutely. And when we get to winter of next year, we'll have had 2 more assessments. Now I can look at, let's say, students with an IEP. Now I'm going to start seeing a trend. They've taken this, you know, students with an IEP, whether it's the same exact or more, we know we have an issue potentially with those students because those scores are staying consistently low. Now I need to, okay, now we really need to focus on this because we've got a baseline and we know that that's stagnant. Because we want to see all groups, as Mr. Blair said, moving up to green.
And the other thing, just one more, is when we're having the conversations, we're also looking deeper into the data. We're disaggregating, identifying groups that may not be achieving as well as others, looking at what can we do, what groups are, you know, so we're not just looking at the flat number and saying, oh, great, we're improving 20%. We're looking at specifically grade levels, performance within that, strands within that. Curriculum Associates does a great job of breaking the strands down so we can know, is it phonemic awareness for our little guys? Oak Hill, for example, we had a great conversation with them. They've identified key areas that they're working on in grade levels specific to all of, let's say, 2nd grade who's needing some extra help with phonemic awareness. So it dives really, really deep.
So just to clarify something about the data on the 5 labs report. when it's saying things like percent of grade level, or, you know, percent of school, percent of gender, it's not actually the percent of that grade level, it's percent of the students in that grade level who took the iReady assessment.
Correct.
So it's not representative of, like, 11th grade here isn't representative
Correct.
of all of 11th grade, only the subset of 11th grade that took the iReady.
That is correct.
Okay.
It's only the kids who took it, correct. And at the
Okay.
high school level, again, especially get to the senior level, many of those kids in the math, they're not taking the test. They don't have a math class. There is no, we can't put an intervention in now, it's, you know,
Right.
for the school year.
Okay.
That makes
So,
sense.
so actually that means the numbers are a little bit, likely a little bit more positive than they look here.
Correct.
So that's good to keep in mind. Thank you.
Yeah, you included all your AP and honors, but that's not what the purpose of this test is.
Right.
And what we'll do, and we would welcome input, but this is our first time coming back to you with this set of data. I'm gonna be real clear, we're still learning. We have access to a ton of different data now. So one of the things we plan to do is come back to you routinely, so you all can see the progress that we're making, and we'll get to a point we can standardize the reports. So you'll be looking at the same thing, because I think like tonight we're spending time learning the reports. You know, so what I'm thinking is we probably should have done a better job prior to this, Mr. Jordan. We could have shown a sample report. So always the teacher and us trying to make it as good as we can, or as great as we can. So what we can do is we come back to the next round, you'll start seeing the same report, so it'll make sense. Plus, the completion rate thing is a big deal. If we don't have high participation, the data is all wonky when you start comparing it. So the 5 Labs data to start off it's wonky, for lack of a better cool data term. So anyway, so you're going to keep seeing this. Is not going to be one thing. We'll probably see this more than we even see our CAS stuff, because this is frequent and we're using it. We have teachers right now in the classroom who know how all their kids are doing. They're asking us, how can we see it and how do we get more, because it's driving instruction.
I can assume.
So, it would be useful.
One moment, Trustee Kelly. One moment. Okay. Go ahead.
Thanks. I can assume that part of the learning gap is due to the pandemic and the learning loss associated with that, correct?
I would say absolutely.
Right?
And I'm not going to say that everything was perfect before the pandemic. That's
Sure.
not true either, but
Right.
certainly the pandemic played a role, absolutely.
And how are we capturing the students that have the learning loss specifically
So
due to
now,
the pandemic?
now we're getting baselines. Where are our kids? And then we're going to have to keep looking at kid to kid, kids that stay in the district. Where are they going? And that you're not going to necessarily see it on these 2 reports that I give you. So you have to dig deeper into that data to look at those specific areas.
A good example would be, we're not saying Scott and Carol are impacted by learning loss. We're looking at all students who are not performing where we're on grade level, and then we're targeting. You guys approved multiple intervention teachers, aides that will be helping. We have some great people doing some great things, our Title I programs. They are really targeting some of our students that need some of the most help. So that's how we're getting at learning loss, through good first teaching in the classroom, because our teachers are doing a remarkable job, but our intervention and support folks are doing a really good job through the data, identifying, because their reports can pull it by name. You can pull it up and be like, Mr. Bruno, we know he's having great struggles with this, and so is Mr. Lair. So we're going to group them in something to help eliminate that. So my phonemic awareness one. We might have 3 of us in this room out of a classroom who are struggling with phonemic awareness. Our Title I or our intervention support will come in and work with those students. And we're seeing some really positive success with that. The little guys and things like that, we're seeing out there, they're like little sponges. You start feeding them information and working with them and teaching them, it's remarkable.
And then as those kids take the test, they can track those individual kids. You're just these 2 reports, so these are the big broad strokes. You're not going to be able to see that level of data. I can bring that if you want, but
Yeah. In regards to, I mean, if I want to, I can just come and meet with you, correct?
absolutely.
In regards to absenteeism, if the student misses a test, do they go back and take the test? Well, the other students.
The best we are able, yes. Now, if a kid's gone for weeks on end, obviously, at some point we got to shut the window.
Because that's what got us in the second window was COVID. So we had a lot of kids that were out, and it was hard. The staff worked really hard to get those students put in, but it takes a lot of time, and there's saw the value in getting more data on more kids in there because we're using it.
Do we still have the high school measure program? Where they go down and grade little kids, elementary?
No, we had, I don't know if this is going to, we used to have Teacher 2000, and then that's been gone for a little bit, but then also we have done some EL tutoring where we took our EL, some of our students who speak multiple languages would go down and work with EL students that were younger. We had to stop because of COVID, we couldn't intermix, but that's something we certainly will bring back, and we're looking at how do we expand that to other strategies, especially like math. We have some great kids that know a lot about math that are teaching.
Okay, Trustee Kelly, you wanted to say or ask something?
I can't understand a word anyone is saying at all. I think I heard my name, so.
You were trying to say something or ask something a moment ago?
Yeah, so Scott had mentioned that the schools have self-identified some metrics, and I think those would be really useful for us to see those. I apologize if it's already been said and kind of just being redundant, but yeah, it would be really useful to see what those metrics are that they've identified and then see what the progression is.
So, sorry, that was really loud. Can you hear that, Kelly? So one of the things is SIPSAs. The SIPSAs will outline for each of our schools. LCAP goals and SIPSA goals will outline those key areas that they're focusing on.
Okay. You're saying that the LCAP will show those metrics?
So LCAP will do the broader district goals and progress as a whole, but school SIPSAs, their single school plans for student achievement, they outline and diagram all their goals around those areas. So you'll see that when the SIPSAs come.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm loving the data.
He's not a data man,
No. Okay, moving right along, we have committee updates, facilities update with Richard Putnam.
Good evening. Good evening, everybody. So we are coming to the end of the year. Facilities department is helping the various school sites with any help that they need for graduation needs. And then some of the bigger items that we have going right now is we've started field renovation at Wilson C. Riles on their upper field. Everything has been scraped. We'll be starting the next process, and then sometime next week we will start a hydroseeding process, and then we'll have that field up and running in the fall for the students at Riles. And then also at Riles we are doing a lighting upgrade in both the MP and the gym. So we'll go from the old fluorescent lighting in there, and we're upgrading that to LED lighting. And then we will also be at Center High School upgrading the lighting in the library to new LED lighting. And that is what we have for right now.
What's going on over at the new site?
We're digging and pouring concrete, and there's a lot of activity going. Eugene has been going out with the drone every now and then and getting some other aerial photos for us. And Clark Sullivan will be the contractor. Has a time-lapse camera that was being installed this week, and then that will run every day through the entire process. So we'll be able to see a time lapse when everything is completed on the site.
That's cool.
It's getting fun. All right. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Comments from the audience regarding items not on the agenda. Do we have any comments? Okay, no comments. Next, we have consent agenda with item 20 removed. I'm sorry, procedural question? Do I ask for motion or do we just vote?
Either way.
Okay, do I have a motion for the consent agenda?
I'll motion to approve the consent agenda, removing item 20.
Okay, and do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, roll call vote. Trustee Kelly?
I don't know what we're voting on.
Oh, I apologize. Voting on the consent agenda with item 20 removed.
Aye.
Okay, Trustee Lee?
Aye.
Trustee Pope?
Aye.
Trustee Anderson?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Consent agenda is approved with item 20 removed. Moving on to item 20 of the consent agenda. Resolution number 26, 21, 22, committed fund balance designation. Jump to that.
Move to approve.
Okay, and do I have a second?
Approve for discussion.
She said approved.
Well, after move to approve, we can have discussion.
So that we can discuss it?
You need to
Okay.
bring it to a floor, right?
So,
Usually you bring it to the floor for discussion.
Wait a second.
Trustee Pope is saying usually we motion to bring it to the floor
For discussion.
for discussion.
Either one will work for discussion.
Okay.
You don't need both. You don't need to bring it to the floor and then make a motion.
And Carol's
You can bring
confirming
it to
that is correct.
the floor either way.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so on the floor,
Discussion.
Ms. Coronado?
Okay, I wasn't sure what we're discussing.
I'm not sure what your questions are, why you pulled it to discuss. Did you have specific questions, or do you just want an overview of what it is?
Well, I'm the one that pulled it from the agenda, so let me go ahead and just start the discussion. That's okay.
Okay.
So for item number 20, approve the resolution to commit the committed fund balance designation. So I just wanted to say, it's an awful lot of money that we have that needs to be allocated out. And I know that we've made an excellent plan for spending it, which is great. And I just want to make sure that we actually, are able to follow through with a significant portion of that, particularly the HVAC. I wanted to thank you for allocating that much money to HVAC repairs or replacement. And just making a note that we will be following through on spending the excess funds. I know it seems funny, I'm always talking about we have to stay solvent, but at the same time, the people who have paid that money towards education expect that money to be spent now towards education, and that's why the cap is triggered. Maybe, Lisa, if you could explain the cap for the public's benefit, that would be great.
Okay. So there are different tests from the state government. There's 3 different tests, and what that means is when a certain amount of money is put into certain accounts at the state level, it triggers so that school districts can't keep more than 10% of their excess funds in reserve. The triggers are complicated, and I didn't write them all down, and so I don't have those memorized. But the bottom line is we can't have more than 10% of undesignated funds in our account. So what you do is you commit those funds. Now, they've already been committed in our minds, so there's 2, for example, the carryover of unspent school site discretionary funds. We already know that we let school sites have the funds that they carry over from year to year. It's never been a board agenda where you made a resolution to do that. That's just been past practice for our district. So when I look at how much money we have to spend, I have to take out that amount that we let Dudley keep that they didn't spend this year and roll over to the next year. And we do that because they save their money for bigger projects. And then the carryover of unspent supplemental and concentration grants. We receive funds for our students who are English learners, who are low income, and who are foster youth. So we get 20% of our base funding for every one student who's called an unduplicated pupil. And then when we get above 55% of our students who are unduplicated pupils, we get 50% of our funding for every student above 55 percentile. That money is called supplemental concentration grants, and that has to be spent on those students. So that is in its own resource that I track to make sure that it's in the LCAP, how we're meeting the students' needs, and that we don't spend it on other things like a school bus. Well, actually that does count, but something that doesn't count for the students' needs. And so that's already set aside. This is just making it official that we have a purpose for these funds. And then the $2 million for maintenance, general maintenance, that is something that's extra. We just know that we have some safety concerns with fencing at North Country that we need to address. We have some old HVACs that we want to replace, etc. So this is how we came up with this amount, or these items. We have an undeemed fund balance projected to be about $14.7 million. And we can keep about $7 million undesignated. That's the 10% amount. So that gives us a total of about $10.2 million that we need to commit. So two things to that. One is it's not only Fund 1, it's Fund 17 also. And we have $2.46 million in Fund 17 that we just kept there, but that is considered special reserve extra funds. So that is added to Fund 1 when we figure out this calculation of how much we are allowed to keep undesignated. Then, I lost the second thing I was going to say. Oh, so I'm committing $8.4 million, but I have projected $10.2 million that we might need to commit. This is just, this is something that is supposed to be finalized at unaudited actuals, when we actually close the books and see how much money we have left. So this is just getting me through the budget and the presumed amount, but it will be different. Money falls out, and then we're also spending money. So we'll see how it all shakes out in September, and then I might have to recommit more. And then to the point of, are we really going to spend it on this? The board's committed it. I have to spend it on this. So I will have to report to you how much we've spent in each of these categories. And if we finish all of our maintenance projects and we don't need that money anymore, then you'll have to do another resolution to uncommit those funds and apply it somewhere else. Yes?
Kelly, excuse me, I'm not sure you're aware or not. Historically, we've always kept 10% in that fund, and that's what saved us and bailed us out many times. You lost your sound. Okay. And I'm pleased to hear that we're still doing that 10%. But if that's something you want to look at, maybe we can talk about it at a later meeting. But that's what saved us when we had the big crashes on school funding, and that's why we were better off than the other districts around us with layoffs and things. It's because we had that money to fall back on.
And one of the things I would add to just 2 points to that is the funds that we're talking about here, Lisa, are these ongoing funds?
They are one-time funds.
Right. So it's important. We had a big infusion of COVID funds, and we're trying to expend those because they expire or you lose them. So we've generated a lot. The governor's new budget proposed has another round of big one-time funding because, to Ms. Anderson's point, there likely could be some sort of cliff. So one of the things is we have to expend these dollars, but we also are being extremely conservative because if you look at the economy today, usually California's budget is probably not going to be $95 billion surplus. So one of the things we challenge with is trying to make sure we continue to spend dollars but still save going forward. But if you look at our income versus expenditures, you know, in some years we're actually deficit spending.
So when I bring forward the budget for next month, it'll show that next year we are spending more than we're taking in. Now that's before the May revises come out, and there's so many changes in the potential changes in the July budget that they haven't hammered out that I can't put that in the budget yet. So I know we'll actually receive more than we'll spend, but the budget you'll see next month shows us deficit spending next year and the year after that. This is just one-time money.
Kelly?
Yeah, so I'm not sure if I missed anything that was said that I'm now going to repeat, but I just wanted to make note that it does say that we're committed to how we're spending this unless we make a new resolution. So that's an interesting component of this that I wasn't aware of, and kind of glad to know that. So that, and then what Lisa was saying, I'm sorry, what she was saying about that she has to spend those funds is also in my mind good news, because I've known districts who will just allocate money to different things to make it look like they're not over on unallocated funds, but then not really spend it. So it's really nice to know that we keep a really clean and what's the word I'm looking for, transparent process. But I really appreciate that about this district, and great job, Lisa. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Any other discussion on this topic? Okay, then let's have our vote. Trustee Kelly?
Aye.
Trustee Lee?
Aye.
Trustee Pope?
Aye.
Trustee Anderson?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. So it is approved. Okay. Give me one moment to find my place on the agenda. Just one note before we move forward. Since we are having some sound issues, let's all try to be very careful and deliberate to try not to overlap with each other as much as possible. Okay. Moving on to business items. Business item A, first reading board policy 0415, equity in education. Do I have a motion on this issue?
I'd like to motion to table this item. And the reason for that, Mr. President, is that it's my understanding we're signed up to go through an equity in governance training. And it was supposed to be done a while ago, and then it got postponed, and it got postponed. And I really would like to undergo that training so that I have a better understanding of our responsibilities, along with Superintendent Lair and Trustee, I think it's Trustee Health. Yes, that is going to go through that. Because I think this is such an important policy that rushing it wouldn't be to the benefit of us as a board or of the district. And so that's why I'm making that motion to table until we complete the training, the equity governance training.
We put a lot of time and effort
Well,
into this
do
policy.
I have a second on that motion?
I'll second that motion. I think that makes sense. I'm sad that we won't have an equity policy in the interim, and that we could potentially change it if we see the need in the future, but it also makes sense this way, so we can see how the vote goes right now.
Could I just add one comment? Just one of the things with the CSBA equity, hopefully it'll happen, this is our third round. I do believe one of the characteristics, which when you brought that up, I do believe that it does talk about districts making policy. So my 2 cents with it, I obviously we spent time doing it, but maybe it would be if we're informed that we can come back. So I don't see a harm in that if people are okay with it. But it is a correct statement that part of it is developing a equity statement for your district as part of it. So that's just my 2 cents.
Okay.
I guess the workshop should have been postponed until the equity training then, because we waited, we're there all day Saturday, 3 hours working on this, when we're hearing now that it was really maybe a waste of time, if we're going to revise it.
Yeah.
Just to add my 2 cents, I'm feeling a little frustration over the idea of tabling this now after we did spend that time doing it. I think the idea of tabling it till after the training does have merit, but at the same time, if we were going to do that, I feel like it would have been good to do that before our workshop. And there's the other part of me that's thinking, you know, I feel, well, without getting into that discussion now, that if we did approve this, we could always amend it later after the workshop. So there's that as well. Trustee Kelly?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, we can always amend it, and also, the work that we did during the workshop, I think that would definitely be a springboard for anything we could do in the future. So again, I'm kind of six of one, half dozen of the other. We could put it into place now and revise it later, or we could table it now and create it later. We'll still use what we developed as our starting point, and potentially it'll be perfect, right? So, either way, however we want to go on this, I'm happy either way.
Okay, any further discussion on the motion to table? Okay, so a vote on whether or not to table this item. Trustee Kelly?
Can you start on the other end of the table?
I'll go first.
Allowed?
Well, wait, sorry, I've chosen the order for this meeting, that's the order that we're progressing in for this meeting. Last meeting, somebody got stuck on a vote, and so.
So the answer is no, we're not gonna start from the other end.
But I do sympathize.
Great, put me on the spot. Gosh, I seconded it, but, I kind of feel like we can amend it later, so I'm gonna vote no
Okay,
on tabling it.
Trustee Lee?
Aye.
Trustee Poe?
No, with, the idea that it could be revised.
Okay. Trustee Anderson? Okay, please make sure you're speaking to the microphone so she can.
The same statement, no.
Okay, and Chair also votes no, so we are not tabling it at this time?
Are we continuing discussion?
Yes, we are continuing discussion.
Yes.
Well, actually, at this point, I'm asking for a motion on the item.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
Second to approve.
So do we have a motion on this item?
I will second.
There's no motion to second yet.
I vote to approve. I said it, I don't think.
Okay, so Trustee Kelly is motioning to approve, and Trustee Anderson is seconding. Okay, so now we can get into discussion on the item. Okay.
So my question is, what is the purpose of us going through the training then? If we're already have like jumped the gun and made a policy before the training?
Because we're always learning and we're always changing. It's a living document.
That's almost exactly what I was going to say. It's because going through the training gets us more knowledge, and we might find that we can make changes to this and make it even better.
But once you put an equity policy in place, that becomes the guiding vision, for the district. And so we're going to be making this potential, I think it's a very weak policy, I'm just gonna say that, that we have right now. I don't think it sets a vision as it should. And so that's why I was making that suggestion that we table it until we actually get the training. I don't think it has an implementation plan that's robust. I think it's not even really an equity policy as written. So I'm just curious about the usefulness of continuing with the training if we're not using it to inform this policy, or if we're going to just have a completely revised equity policy. I'm worried about confusion, us looking like we don't quite know what we're up to with respect to equity as a result.
Every month we change policies.
When we met on the Saturday, which you were not in attendance, it was decided amongst the board that were there that implementation is something that we would not do. We set the policy and district staff does the implementation, and they come to us and we make suggestions or such. The other thing is, if we had no intentions on doing the policy, why did you request it to be on the agenda?
I didn't request it, and I clarified this to you before.
You did.
No, this was,
I
The
guess,
policy was brought to the table by Mr. Lair.
I guess the live stream is wrong when I rewatched the video, because you did under advanced planning say that you wanted the equity statement on the agenda. It was not Mr. Lair.
I've never put an equity statement, a template, a boiler template on the agenda. That
No,
was
you asked for it to be placed on the agenda.
No, I did not.
I
That's
guess,
false.
I guess the live statement.
That's
live
false. And then the other
That's-
part I just
What?
wanted to respond to, Trustee Pope, is that without an implementation plan, you don't have an equity plan. And that statement that was made, it shows our lack of understanding of what an equity policy is, and that's reflected in the draft. I think we really need to undergo the training so we understand what it is.
Again, when the board met, the board members that attended the workshop, which you did not attend, that's what we decided.
Yeah, I was unable to attend.
Is that what you said?
Yeah, and the decision that was made reflects a lack of understanding of an equity policy, and it really reflects an ignorance about equity. I'm going to be really frank about that.
And that is your opinion. The opinion of this board that attended the workshop drafted this policy.
Okay, so Trustee Kelly?
Yeah, a couple of things. So I think that having a policy in place sets the tone of where we want to go. And if we later decide, oh, we missed a whole bunch of points, or we missed one thing, whatever it is that we learn is only going to enhance the policy and make it better. And so we've already decided that we're not going to table this, so we are going to be making a vote on it. So at this point, I would like to discuss the merits of the policy that we have drafted, which was based on research of other districts' equity policies. And, I know that we've discussed having an equity policy during these meetings. There has been interest in having an equity policy. I can't, with 100% certainty specifically say that Trustee Lee was interested in having that, but, I just feel like this is something that we have been talking about for quite a while, and there's definitely an interest from the community, and I think we just need to move forward, put a direction in place, and if it gets better with the training, then there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing bad about improving on it.
Okay, just to add my opinion to the mix. Yes, this policy does not include an implementation plan because we as a board discussed it, and it is the board's job to set the goals for the district, and it's the superintendent's job to manage the implementation. So we felt it would be overstepping our bounds to do an implementation. And I think the statement that this shows an ignorance of what an equity plan is completely off base. I think what it shows is that we don't have an agreement on what an equity plan should be. We don't have a consensus on that, but that's not the same as an ignorance. And I think honestly that we put a lot of good work, and there was a lot of discussion, debate. I see your hand, she had her hand up also, so I'll be with you guys in a moment. I think we put a lot of effort into this, and I think I don't think we crafted a perfect document because I don't believe such a thing exists, but I also think that if the idea was to hold off on doing this till after the training, the time to bring that up would have been at the last meeting before we did the workshop. And I think, we've done the work and we've crafted a policy, and then, we should either adopt the policy or work to amend the policy. So, Trustee Kelly?
Yeah, in regards to an implementation plan, I agree with Trustee Bruno, President Bruno, that the implementation is definitely up to district staff, superintendent, and on down. but I see no reason why we can't ask for them to bring that forward to us so that we know what the implementation plan is, and are, not that we're gonna change it necessarily, but just that we're aware that the policy is being implemented. But again, our role is to set policy, not procedure. I mean, well, I don't know if I'm saying that properly. Our role is to set policy, and it's the district's role to implement that policy.
Trustee Anderson?
So, question on, is there anything in the policy that we've drafted that is objectionable or needs revision?
Let's circle around to that in a moment because we were waiting for Trustee Anderson's comments.
That's okay. Every meeting, including this one, we sit here
Please
with policy.
use your microphone.
Every meeting, including this one, we sit here with a pack of policies that have to be revised. It's a constant thing that we do. And this would be no different. We've got a basic policy, and we're going to have changes. We know that. Nothing's perfect, and it continues to grow and change. So there's no reason for this to even be a debatable situation.
Okay, so echoing what Trustee Kelly was asking, looking at the proposed policy itself, does anyone have any comments, suggestions, edits, anything like that that they would like to see made? Okay, Trustee Kelly?
Yeah, I mean, when I reviewed it, there were a couple of things, but I think they were minor, and we're going to be revisiting it again soon. They were negligible, but I also wanted to point out that we neglected to ask for public comment on this discussion, on this action. So I apologize for that if I jumped the gun.
Thank you very much for pointing that out. I did miss that. Thank you. Do we have any public comments on this issue? We do. Okay.
Ms. Harris?
Well, no, we'll come back to our discussion.
I have Angelina Hughes online. Angelina, please unmute your mic.
Angelina, are you there?
She's still muted.
Angelina, can you hear us?
Could the host unmute Angelina?
Hi there.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to raise my hand. I apologize for that.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
We know it works.
Thank you very much, then. Okay, do we have any other public comments?
Sorry, Jade.
I'd like to call for the vote.
One moment, we're still working out.
There's nobody with a raised hand.
No.
Okay.
No hands raised.
Okay, we have a call for the vote. Do we need a second on that? Okay, do I have a second on the call for the vote?
I'll second.
Okay, so Trustee Kelly? Oh, wait, I'm sorry, oh wait, the motion was to adopt, and so now we're calling for the vote. Okay, so the vote to adopt, Trustee Kelly?
Aye.
Trustee Lee?
Aye.
Trustee Pope?
Aye.
Trustee Anderson?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye, policy has been adopted. Okay, one moment. And I just want to thank everyone that helps keep me on task with policy. It's an area where I struggle, and I genuinely appreciate the corrections. Okay, business item B, West Ed, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Do I have a motion on this item?
Motion to approve.
Okay, and do I have a second on this motion?
I'll second.
Okay. Superintendent Meadows, did you want to give it
I
back?
just brief comments. The board early on had set some goals to try to work on diversity, equity, inclusion within the district. Originally, we talked about doing some culturally responsive teaching practices, which I do think is a good thing. But as we, Mr. Jordan, myself, and Becky Lawson talked with groups, talked to some pretty high-powered groups, all of them said, create a culture that allows and accepts, otherwise your professional development will not stick. And so when we went through the groups, we leveled on Wested. We felt like we had a great connection with Dr. Erin. I cannot remember her last name for the life of me as I'm sitting here, but we felt a great connection. So what she'll start with us is through Wested, building our capacity through, we're actually going to rename it. We have an equity task force, and we're going to rename that. And then start looking at that. And then we also spoke with the National Equity Project, and we really liked the lead with that. So we're going to possibly connect with her to have her come in and just kind of as an independent person look at, here's what we're doing at Wested, where do we want to go? So anyway, I think Wested will do a great job of laying it out. And then as we go through this, and I'm telling the board now, this is a long process. This is not a one and done workshop. This is going to be training that's systemic. It could be 4 to 6 years and then ongoing. So it is a little bit different than what the board had asked of me early on, but I think now that we've all learned a little more as a district staff, this will be good for us. And as we move with the equity policy, this is what will be our implementation practice. So we're getting there, so we'll be able to update you on that. So with that, we would seek approval, and we're excited to get our team rolling.
Okay, and before we move on to discussion, do we have any public comments on this item?
I would like to say thank you for the clarification. You explained a lot that I was going to ask anyway, so thank you. We've got to start somewhere, so it's a good start.
Okay, is there any further discussion on this issue? Do we still have Kelly?
She's on.
Okay. Okay, well then, I guess we'll go to a vote.
Yeah, I'm still here. I can't always hear everything everyone's saying, but I got the gist of it.
Okay, so are we ready for the vote then?
Aye.
Okay, Trustee Kelly, you vote aye. Trustee Lee?
Aye, yeah.
Aye.
Trustee Pope?
Aye.
Trustee Anderson?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Approved. Okay. Item C, resolution number 25, 2021-2022, resolution of the Board of Trustees, the Center Joint Unified School District, adopting a proposal to limit the number of consecutive terms a member of the governing board may serve, ordering an election on the proposal, establishing specifications of the election order, and requesting consolidation with other elections occurring on November 8th, 2022. Whew. Do I have a motion on this item? Do I have a motion on this item?
Motion to approve.
Okay, do I have a second? Do I have a second on this motion? Okay, motion has died on the floor.
Actually, do we have public comments?
I think you already asked.
It has to be brought to.
No, not for this item. It was not asked.
We did motion to bring it to the floor.
Oh, that's right. No motion, no
So.
discussion.
Okay,
But if the public has comments about it, they should be allowed to make comments.
procedurally, that's not the way the procedure works. So if the public has comments, they could reach out, we could put it on a future agenda. But
There is no public comment.
there are no public comments anyway, so the point's moot, but just procedurally, if we don't bring an item to the
Should
floor.
we table this for the moment and look up the rule?
There's no comments anyway, Kelly.
So,
There was no second to the motion to bring it to the
so
floor.
I will. Kelly, we're taking a 5-minute recess because we're having some technical difficulties.
Have you worked with West End?
Yeah, virtually.
They're good. And National Equity Project.
Yeah.
And I can't remember her name. I think she's like the head of it out of Oakland. So I think it's good.
I'm curious about Robert's rules, and if something's not brought to the floor, the public has comment on it, the public doesn't have comment on it.
I want to look it up. I don't think if it's brought to the floor, you can even have comment on it because it wasn't even brought up. But we'll clarify.
So basically, my colleague just killed it without even talking about
It
it.
gets warm and then it's cool.
All right.
Essentially.
I got it. Thank you. Nothing's changed.
You know, I was worried. I thought you. I looked at Dr. Lee and I thought you fell.
My
and I was
foot
like,
hit the power strip, knocked one of the plugs out, and it's like, and then I saw some blackness come out, so I went underneath the table to fix it immediately.
Okay.
And
I looked at and I
got
couldn't-
everything up quickly to where we didn't lose stuff.
I just couldn't. When I saw your face, Dr. Lee, I was like, did he?
Yeah, I didn't.
I didn't know if he passed out or, and I was like,
Thank you for your concern.
I got you.
Back to order at 7:49 p.m. Moving on to business item D, A to G completion improvement grant plan. Do I have a motion on this item?
A motion.
Okay, and do I have a second on the motion?
Second?
Okay, so bringing this item to the floor. Did you want to give them
Just a brief overview. Last month, the board had. We good, Eugene?
Carol, stop sharing.
Oh, sorry.
So last month we shared as just information the A to G. This is a new block grant, my word block grant. It's being done by the state. It's focused around A to G improvement. And so what we're seeking in this plan would be to utilize it to maintain and increase our dual enrollment, which allows students to not only get the credit for high school, but also college credit. And then additionally helping to fund the additional counselor at Center High School to keep working towards that. So it's a good thing. We'll put the money to good use, and that means more students would be A to G targeted to get higher A to G rates, which means more kids would be eligible to go to college if they so chose.
Okay, and do we have any public comments on this item? Okay, any discussion? Okay, I guess we'll do the vote then. Trustee Kelly?
Could you repeat what the vote is?
The vote's to approve the,
Are we on item B, what's that?
no,
Or,
item D, A to G completion improvement grant plan?
yes, sorry about that, we already did B. Okay, aye.
Okay.
I can't hear anything. I'll never do this again.
Trustee Lee?
Aye.
Trustee Poe?
Aye.
Trustee Anderson?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. So approved. Okay. Item E, first reading, board bylaw 9005.1, governance standards, censure, and procedures. Do I have a motion on this item?
Move to approve.
Second?
Okay.
Yeah, move to approve this one set.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second.
I think Kelly, we're on item E, which is just the censure and governance standards policy, and then the next item F is the.
Move to approve.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's been brought to the floor. I'll give a brief overview. It was recently brought to our attention that we don't actually have a formal censure policy. So I went searching for similar policies at other districts. I found that there was a considerable variance between a 5-member board and a 7-member board as far as procedure. So I targeted my search to 5-member boards, and I found one, and unfortunately I don't remember which district I got it from anymore, but I sent it to Superintendent Ware, and that's where we are. So before we begin discussion, do we have any public comments on this? Oh, and also I would just like to state, to be abundantly clear, this is not because I'm wanting to censure anybody, this is because I am wanting to have this in place should that ever come up at some point in the future. Okay, so discussion. Anybody?
I think it's a great idea. It's long overdue.
Do we do public comment first?
I just checked, there were no public comments.
Okay, I just want to say, I really like the way this reads. I like the fact that it talks about expectations first before diving into what happens if you don't meet those expectations. I just thought it was really well written, and I'm happy with it the way it is.
Thank you, I wish I could take credit for that. I'm just good with Google. Okay, any further discussion? All right, Trustee Kelly?
Aye.
Trustee Lee?
Aye.
Trustee Poe?
Aye.
Trustee Anderson?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Now the censure policy. Okay.
So, yeah, Mr. Bruno, just
Only all our votes could be that easy, right?
so for clarity, this did say first reading. Typically, with the batches, we do multiple readings because there's so many? Is this one the board is wanting to see back next time, or are you good with the first reading since no changes were made? Typically, if you made some changes, I would recommend we bring it back, but if you took it as is, I think you're.
No, there's nothing.
I thought since we were taking it as is, that we didn't need it.
You might have to reset his.
Perhaps we should clarify that. Was anybody wanting to do it just as a first reading with a second reading to happen later, or?
I think the first reading is fine if no one makes changes.
Trustee Kelly, is that okay with you?
I mean, I didn't hear what other people were saying, but I see no reason either way. If everyone wants to just go ahead and approve it, fine, but I think it does say first reading on the agenda, so we should approve the first reading just to make sure that we're following procedures properly.
So to be clear, it is a first reading. Second reading can be done, but is not mandatory. So if we don't have any changes, we can't approve it with the first reading.
So we can approve it on the first reading, is what you're saying. So then, yeah, so move to approve completely,
And
it's fine.
Trustee Anderson, that was your intent as well, to actually make it into policy?
That's fine. I do have a question, and I did read through this, but now I'm not sure. Does it say that it has to be approved by the president to be placed on the agenda?
First point of order, make sure you use your microphone so Kelly can hear us. It's been a little bit since I reviewed this in detail.
I don't believe it does. I believe what it talks about is there's some procedural type things that the individual who would be requesting that would have to go through. But I think once it's those processes, the board president would not be able to reject it. I don't believe it says anything about approval from the board president.
And just as a matter of discussion of protocol, my personal stance is if somebody wants it on the agenda, we put it on the agenda. And that's any topic.
That can cause an awful lot of work for a lot of people. It's constantly abused.
So,
is there any way we could make it that 2 people want it on the agenda?
well, okay, with censure, I did find policies that would require 2 people to move forward, but that was with 7-member districts. With a 5-member district, that becomes, a large percentage, so.
Right. Okay, that's just my thoughts.
Okay, so, yes, that was to make it into policy then. So we do not need a second reading. Because we all unanimously agreed on that. Okay, item F, first reading policies and exhibits. Do I have a motion on item F?
I'll motion.
Okay, do I have a second on that motion?
Second.
Oh, I motion to approve as full, approved in full.
Okay.
I'll second.
Thank you, Carol.
So not to bring back for a second reading, but to approve.
No.
Yeah, is this a motion to approve the first reading or a motion to approve them, period?
What I was gonna say is, first reading, and we'll do it as a whole, instead of individual item.
Okay, yes.
Second.
Okay, Trustee Anderson already seconded, so this is not to approve the policies, it's to approve the reading, correct?
Correct.
Okay, just want to clarify that. Do we have any public comments on this issue? Okay, discussion? Trustee Kelly?
Yeah, so on board policy, the first one, board policy 0420.42 charter school renewal, it is completely not applicable to us. We do not have any charters that need to be renewed. We did not have any charters during the 2 years that this is relevant, so I say we just say this one completely. It is irrelevant.
We could, historically, we've kept them in. If a charter was to petition us, we have found that by having the policies, it actually works in a district's favor, so you have processes. So we can look at this. It does no harm to us. It just has us, if the case that we have a word petitioned and then a petition was approved. It doesn't mean that we're going to get a charter or we're not going to get a charter. We have other policies within there that do talk about how we would accept the charter.
So a charter could be in existence petition us, and then we would be able to judge based on the 1920 or not judge based on the 2021 fiscal year for the charter school, regardless of whether they were in our district. Is that what you're saying?
I believe that might be one avenue of it. The other piece would be, is this policy, these are changes just to the renewal, there's other components to it. So this would be one small component, that these dates will probably go away, but there's other elements to it that would be, if we ever did get a charter, how you renew. So that would be one that will come back and will be updated after this at a later date.
Okay. That was my only comment.
Okay, Trustee Anderson?
I have a question under student records. What is our procedure for if we have, say, a transgender student moving into the district for the purpose of starting anew, protecting those records, under a name change and a sex change? How do we deal with that as a district? Is everything kept under lock and key?
Once the permanent record gets changed and updated, there's no, that is the permanent record.
They destroy all the old information?
Well, a lot of it's digital, so I know we've had that before where it just, you update the information if there's a name change or anything along those lines.
So they just delete the old?
Essentially.
They put in the new? Okay.
Which?
Because when students have access to a lot of records like that,
They shouldn't.
They shouldn't?
Other students should not have access to other students. No one should have access to that directory information on students, other than employees who would have access.
So just to clarify, this would be the same if a student, for instance, got adopted and changed their last name.
Correct. You would update the system, and then the system would be in there.
Okay.
Good to know. Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion on this? Okay, so this will be coming back for a second reading, and we don't need to take a vote, correct?
No, you will vote. You vote on the first reading.
Thank you. Okay, so voting to approve the first reading. Trustee Kelly?
Aye.
Trustee Lee?
Aye.
Trustee Poe?
Aye.
Trustee Anderson?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Okay, now give me a moment to find my place because this takes up a large part of the agenda.
Very last page.
Okay, board and superintendent reports. Trustee Kelly? Do you have a board report? I believe you're muted.
Okay. I don't really have a report other than to say, that I thought our workshop was extremely successful. I thought we had a very productive development of the policy that we just approved. And looking forward to graduation. So that should be fun.
Okay, thank you very much. Trustee Lee?
Yes, happy Asian Pacific American Heritage Month and Jewish American Heritage Month. I appreciate uplifting the many contributions that Asian Pacific and Jewish people have made to American culture and society, often while facing great discrimination and exclusion. I also just want to recognize that we remain in the grips of a global pandemic, and COVID has not left us. Recently, President Biden proclaimed over 1 million Americans have lost their lives to this virus so far. As COVID cases are surging in Sacramento and Placer counties, I encourage everyone to go to covidtests.gov to sign up for free COVID tests to be delivered to your home. I also encourage everyone to be kind and mindful of the ways that this menace continues to impact all of us, and as we continue to navigate this crisis together. Today, our board decided not to even bring to the floor for discussion a resolution on term limits. For the people who attended my office hours, who I brought that resolution forward, I apologize. I invite you to draw your own conclusions about this. I want to remind members of the public that 3 seats are up for election this year, come November 8th, and I encourage you to be inspired to participate by registering your candidacy. The education of the children we serve in our district is paramount importance of our future as a community. I want to thank our community members for your words of encouragement and support for my efforts to advance term limits for our board. I have heard your desire for change, and I hope I have represented your wishes well. With that, my next virtual open office hours are on Monday, June 6th from 4 to 5 p.m., and you can access the Zoom link on the board website. Any and all members of the community are welcome to drop in anytime during 4 to 5 first Mondays, and I look forward to connecting with you all in between that time. Be safe and be well. Thank you so much.
Okay, Trustee Pope?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Bruno, President. I do want to remind our community members that the district does also provide testing for COVID testing at each school site and the district office as well. May 2nd through the 6th was Teachers Appreciation Week. Our parent groups provided goodies and lunch throughout the week for our teachers and our staff, so thank you very much for that. I personally want to say thank you to everybody, our staff, our teachers. I personally appreciate everything you do and the time and the hard work that you dedicate to our students. I would like to congratulate Brett Holmesley, the Dudley principal, and also Tracy Siebert. She is the vice principal of North Country. They both had baby girls earlier in the month. Congratulations to Julia Jackson and to Drake Oil, who got married on May 2nd. And also congratulations to all graduates and 8th grade promoted students. And tomorrow, if the board is willing to attend, is McClellan Senior Dinner, which I will be in attendance. That's my word.
Okay, Trustee Anderson?
I was lucky enough to be included or to join up with Mrs. Diab's class, 2nd grade class, to go on a field trip to the Nature Center, and it was wonderful. That class was so well behaved, and it was just a really good time. And so I thank her for that. Purple Court dinner was very, very nice and well attended. I don't know if it's because of COVID or why, but didn't seem to be as many attendees there this year with the courts, the graduates. So we need to get that number back up somehow. Assemblymember Patrick O'Donnell has authored Assembly Bill 2933 to provide full funding for transportation in school districts across the state. According to CSBA, they pay 30% cost of busing these days, and that's why most of the school districts have cut out school busing. So with this bill, it would furnish, we would raise the cost back up, which it hasn't been increased in 40 years, and it would provide new buses and provide money for bus drivers as well. So we can start a little email campaign or something on that, because it would greatly benefit our district. Again, he's Patrick O'Donnell, Assembly member, Assembly Bill 2933. And as far as the term limits that were mentioned and why it fell to the floor, it fell to the floor because we've had 2 or 3 elections, I don't remember which, that nobody wanted to run for at all. It costs about $2,000 just to sign up to run and put your statement in the book. That doesn't count all of the campaigning material, signs, which often are destroyed, all of the other stuff that goes along with it. So we have a really hard time recruiting people in this area to run for school board, and that would just make it harder. Other than that, will be at graduations. I hope everyone attends those, especially the high school graduation. They deserve to have the full board there. And I look forward to seeing all of you again soon.
Okay. With that, my board report. First of all, speaking of the Purple Core dinner, again, I was really taken aback by just how supportive of each other and tight-knit the students were. It was really neat to see. They were gathering for a photograph and calling each other over to make sure that nobody got left out. And honestly, it made me really, really proud to see that kind of behavior from the students.
Remind me of Pop 10 too, they did the same thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
very similar. And frankly, it makes me optimistic about the future seeing this kind of thing, because I don't think I was that mature at that age. So yeah, I was really impressed. And the lists of schools that some of these students got into, just amazing. The other thing I wanted to say was, back when my son ran track, he had a tendency, as the race was nearing the end, he was not a track star by any stretch, but he'd start kind of just taking it a little bit easy, and I'd remind him, hey, you gotta finish strong, you gotta finish strong. He'd pick it up and finish the best he could. And we're about a week away from the end of the school year, everyone. So to students, staff, teachers, families, everyone, let's finish strong. Let's do this. The end is in sight. And as someone that has a graduating senior, I am very excited about this as well. So yeah, and then just kind of a procedural thing. I would again ask that we not get into board policy discussions during board reports. It's not the place on the agenda for it. So with that, I will turn it over to Superintendent Laird.
All right, so since it's so nice and cool in here, I've got about 35 minutes of
Oh, no.
I'm going to be fast because I don't get that hot, but I'm actually warm. Richard, thank you for making it last as long as you did. I wanted to start first, and I have copies for each of the board members. The Family Resource Center, and that is not their correct name now, but it's Student and Family Support Services, is putting on a back-to-school resource fair July 21st from 4 to 6. We've already spoken with the weather folks, and they said it's going to be a nice, cool Delta breeze day, so we'll be fine. But along with that, we're also doing a backpack drive. So the idea is get as much of the community out, get families backpacks, whatever materials they may need for school, but also they're partnering with some different places. Like one, for example, is through a local clinic where families who maybe can't get to the doctor to get some immunizations to start school, they can come here, get connected with that. So anything doing with coming back to school, this fair is going to try to help. So we have partners in the local neighborhood already, like Schwab, Dragon Tea Cafe, Firestone, a whole bunch of SMUD. A lot of people are coming out to help us out. So more to come. I'll hand you a copy of this on your way out. The other is I wanted to start by, I didn't forget, but I couldn't find a place to interject this, but just acknowledge that the board did tonight approve the appointment of Ms. Erica Olmstead as the principal of Spinelli Elementary. And so welcome and congratulations to Erica. And then also another, I know there are a lot of transitions in there, but also just to say Mr. Barassi's transition to replace Mr. Jackson. I'm looking forward. I actually just sent him a text saying, sorry, we forgot to mention it early, but I wanted to make sure that we acknowledge those two transitions for administrative staff. The end of the year activities are coming. I cannot believe we're a week away from the graduations, and just hoping that everyone remains safe. Dr. Lee, to your point, I just want to reiterate the COVID tests we do have. If a family needs them, stop by any of our offices, see Mr. Jordan. We have some extra take-homes. And then also just to think positively, we do have some staff members who are currently suffering from COVID. So any thoughts of hope and help will go a long way with them. So it is alive and well, and it's impacting us still on a smaller scale, but still as dramatic for the individual families that are going through that. Appreciations for our District Advisory Council and District English Language Arts Council. Was able to attend both those meetings and see, and obviously we want to keep getting more and more families involved, but it's nice to see our folks as part of that. And then finally, I wanted to share, I got this email yesterday and I printed it out right away. An acknowledgement for Central High School. PLTW is Project Lead the Way. We've been involved with this for quite some time now. Mr. Klatt, who has been involved with it probably since the beginning of it, might have brought it. I know he was a master teacher for Project Lead the Way. But it says, Dear Ben, we're excited and privileged to recognize your school, Center High School, as a 21-22 Project Lead the Way Distinguished High School.
Wow.
So congratulations to them for that. I know them and Mr. Klatt, Ms. Galloway, and I know others are involved with that. So I thank them for their efforts to bring that about. It's a lot of work, but it's a great, great program for our students and does bring some great recognition for that program along with other programs. So with that, I just tell everyone, be safe. Graduation time, summer's coming up. Let's hang in there. Hang in there. So.
Okay. Now what I put my agenda away, lost track of where I was. Okay, advanced planning. Future meeting dates, we have a meeting coming up on June 8th at 6 p.m. and our regular meeting June 15th at 6 p.m. I do not believe that I will be attending the June 15th meeting, but I will be here for the June 8th. So,
June 8th, and what was the second date?
June 15th.
So just procedurally, just for the board and others, obviously, I think I shared with you, we'll have an extended closed session at the June 8th meeting. We'll make sure that materials are provided. And then also, we just keep that meeting specifically for our public hearing on our budget and our LCAP. So typically, we spend some time going through that, so we'll have, so it's an abbreviated meeting. It'll probably end up being the same amount of time as we spent here.
A lot of
tonight.
questions for Lisa.
Okay, are there any other suggested agenda items for any of our upcoming meetings? Not this time. Okay, so with that, there is no continuation of closed session tonight. So do I have a motion for adjournment?
I will motion to adjourn.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay.
Second.
Roll call vote, trustee Kelly?
Aye.
Trustee Lee?
Aye.
Trustee Pope?
Aye.
Trustee Anderson?
No.
And chair votes aye.
Tuesday.
She said no.
Tuesday.